collectors and viewers, social distance warriors back, and today we're going to look at the infamous Gamorrean Guard. So the Gamorrean Guard, of course, is one of Jabba's henchmen, bodyguards. We'd first see his appearance in Return of the Jedi, which was episode 6, back in 1983. We'd see him right at the beginning when our fearless rebels showed up to try and save Han Solo, who was frozen in carbonite. Once they located, Boba Fett returned him to Jabba the Hutt. And the Gamorrean Guard made his appearance right at the beginning of that movie. Nice and scary, too, growing up as a kid. And I loved the character. It was just so different from the other two Star Wars movies. So in 83, Kenner made the Return of the Jedi 65, back. And the Gamorrean Guard was released then. That's this figure over here. So that's the original Gamorrean Guard. You can see him in all his glory. He's going to be 40 next year, but he still stands the test today in nice green color with a mean face. And of course, Kenner made him in a way where he's not too scary, but where he is. He's got those big, teeth, yellow teeth showing up on the underbite. And then, of course, he's got his tusks on his head and his yellow eyes. He's got no articulation on that head. The head's fixed in place. But he was really good with your, Jabba's playset and Rancor monster, where you can reenact that scene with Luke Skywalker falling down into the pit. So standard articulation besides the head, the arms, they move up and down. And of course the legs as well, up and down. You can see he's got the foot peg underneath there to display in any playset that you want. You can see the nice detailing on his outfit over here. He's got his sandals on, which was really neat as well. It's really hot in the Tatooine desert. So he's got his sandals on. He's got some armor, of course, on his head, on his shoulders, on his arms, and it's fully detailed, as well as his belt that comes across here. Fully detailed, so that's what he looks like from the front. We'll turn him around over here to the side. You can see that he's a little bit more hefty. Very well fed, like most characters were in Jabba's palace. And then, of course, from the back as well. I love this character as a kid. He's just so different from anything else that we got in Star Wars, and that's what he looks like from the back. And then if we lift him up over here, we can see, let's see, one sec. Lucasfilm Limited, 1983 on one leg, and the other leg it says Hong Kong. Okay, so that's what we got with this character, and of course that would be the test of time. That's the only iteration we get of the Gamorrean Guard from the original Star Wars movie, because he came out in the last one, but he stood the test of time, and Star Wars would go dormant, of course, and we wouldn't see him again until it made its triumphant return in the 90s. So Power of the Force 2 came back out in 1995. We'd have to wait a couple years, but we'd get a brand new version of the Gamorrean Guard with the Power of the Force 2 line. So he'd first come out on the green card, and then later on the freeze frame card as well, which is the year after, and I have the freeze frame card over here. That's the version that I kept with the Gamorrean Guard. And of course he comes with his freeze frames over here, and you can see inside the packaging what he looks like. You can see that he comes with his vibro axe. That's his weapon of choice guarding Jabba's palace. Now, we would see him with a couple different weapons in the movie, but that's what we get with the Power of the Force 2. And, he's still a little bit on the bulkier side here, Power of the Force 2 character-wise, but again, for the character that he is, a lot better rendition than what we got before. And you can just see the detailing on the face, how far we've come from 1983. And on the back, of course, you'd have a nice bio picture of him in the palace there. You can see how the lighting was really gloomy inside Jabba's palace, and you got a couple more characters there in the background. There's a Jawa there, there's Tasik, and then you can see the other characters that were available as well on that card back. So that was 97/98, and I have a loose version of that character to show you as well. So that's this guy over here. So you can see he's holding his axe in hand there. So he did come with an axe. Let's take that out of his hand just so we can look at him in detail. You can see it's painted nicely. The handle's got a nice wooden handle, and he's got the metal part of the axe here, and it's detailed nicely all along. Mine's got a little bit of paint missing on that end there, but nonetheless a nice weapon. As far as the character himself, here he is. Power of the Force 2. You can see how far they've come on the sculpting. The face looks phenomenal on this guy. And mind you, this figure is now 97, so we're 25 years old on this character, and he stands up really well. He's got one closed fist, and one open hand to hold his weapon. Articulation-wise, we can turn him at the head, okay? Side to side, we can lift his arm up. on both sides. And of course, what was standard with the Power of the Force 2 figures, you could turn them at the waist. And of course, these are Jabba's henchmen, right? So you needed to have more than one. They were pretty good army builders as well. I remember finding them in the store, and I was ecstatic to find more than one because I just had to get them and open them and at least have a couple of them. I never had them as a kid. And articulation there at the legs as well, and his skirt gets in the way a bit, but they did a nice detailing on that bottom part of the skirt there. It's all hard plastic. There's nothing soft. There's no soft goods on here. But that's the character we get, and you can see he's got his sandals on as well over his feet because it's nice and hot on Tatooine. You can see his nice plump big feet. And we flip him up there. We can see his foot pegs underneath there, as well as the year he was made. So that's what he looks like from the front and from underneath. And let's turn him to the side to get a nice good view of him there. Okay, and then of course from the back as well. So you can see his detail runs all the way across the back. They even painted the little metal, bracket there on the belt as well. And the strappings come all the way around. They didn't cheap out. They made a nice figure. And this one would stand the test of time. We wouldn't get another Gamorrean guard better than this sculpt for a long, long time. But that's what we got in 1997. And of course, the same figure would get re-released in 2004 as part of the original trilogy collection. It was basically exactly the same figure with an updated paint job. Now, we wouldn't get another version of the Gamorrean guard until Hasbro decided that, you know what, we're going to continue on with the vintage collection. They made fans' dreams come true. And in 2010, we got our vintage collection version of the Gamorrean guard. So I have him on card here to show you. And this harkens back to his original release, of course, with the card back. So this is not the original release one from 2010. It's the re-release that we got from him in 2019. So that's what you can see with the Gamorrean guard. Packaging-wise, you can see how nice the picture is here on the back in Jabba's palace. And you also notice that he comes with a few weapons, right? He doesn't come with just one weapon. You can see 1, 2, 3 different weapons over here. So you could army build this guy and then have him in different scenes throughout Jabba's palace. The one that greets C-3PO and R2, the one that greets Luke Skywalker, and then of course the one that we have on the sail barge afterwards as well. So that's what he looks like in the package. I'll turn him to the side here just so you can see the nice thick blister containing the Gamorrean guard. We'll look at him loose as well. So that's the front of the package with the nice Kenner logo. Let's turn it around to the back. And of course on the back here, his other characters that were available at the time. And these already bring back memories because this is right around the time where the sail barge, Jabba's sail barge, the Katana, came out. And then of course they made us a Klaatu and a Salt Marie yak face to coincide with that, as well as an updated, Bouche Leia and Scarif Stormtrooper re-release and the Range Trooper from the Solo movie. So that's what we get. That's VC number 21. That's the packaging for the Gamorrean guard. And of course I have him loose as well. Let's take a look at him and see the perfect rendition. So vintage collection, Gamorrean guard. I have him again with his axe. So he does come with 3 different weapons, but I decided to keep him in the same scenario, same stance as the Power of the Force 2 one. So we can see a nice close comparison. And of course you can already notice that I bent him at the elbow. He's got articulation there at the elbow. He's got it at the wrist over here as well. Let's take out that axe just to look at it closely so you can see what that looks like. So fully painted, a nice darker handle. And you can see the nice weathering on the blade itself. There's little chips right along the tip here. The amount of detail that goes into these things is amazing. It just astounds me, and I'm very happy with it as well because someone took the care to, weather even the axe, which is appreciated. Let's go back to the Gamorrean and have a look at him. So articulation, of course, at the shoulders. You can't really, he's got a ball at the shoulder there, but because of his shoulder pad, you can't really move it anywhere. You can just kind of go slight back and forth, but you can go up and down. You can go change him at the elbow there as well. You can turn him at the wrist. Down here, you can see that he's got his soft goods. He does have his strap coming across there, and it's not sculpted on, it's a separate piece. It's got this awesome skirt tunic that's sitting over the top there, and you can see it's covering up the bottom part of his leggings. Okay. Down here, of course, he's got articulation. You'll notice that you can move his legs slightly back and forth. He can't really go too far there because he's mainly meant to stand, not really to sit. I don't know how he'd get up if he sat. And then, of course, you bend him at the knee. And of course you have a slight bend at the ankle, but you can turn his feet to the side. So if you wanted to position him, you have more than one action pose with this guy. So that's the same on both sides there. With the head, of course, you can turn him side to side. Okay, he is on a ball, so you can kind of angle it up if you wanted to there. Like that. So you can angle it up, you can angle it down. You know, you can have him standing attention, you can have him alerted. His helmet comes off, which is neat. So you have him just bare head without the helmet. And what does that remind you of? Now when you see him like that, it probably reminds you of the one that we just saw in Book of Boba Fett, and the one that we saw in Mandalorian season 2 at the very, very beginning in that first episode. So the Gamorreans, of course, are a lot popular. It's inspired me to do the review right now because he was in the Book of Boba Fett, and I love those two characters, and I'd imagine we are going to get that character that is protecting Boba Fett in the movie. If I bring him up closer, I just wanted to show you his eyes as well. You can see they've done the detail even on the eyes. So his eyes are shiny in there. You can see the little small pupil. You can see the detail on his nose, on his snout, on his teeth protruding underneath there over the flaps, on his face and his ears. So a lot of details. The perfect rendition of this guy. I don't think we're ever going to get anything better. It's such a different figure with the cloth, the fabric skirt here. It just adds such a nice dimension to the character. So that's what he looks like from the front. We have to, of course, spend some time and some love with this character because they did such a good job with him that all they had to do was re-release him because a lot of people couldn't get the original one. So that's what he looks like from the side. And they turn around to the back. You can see same thing. They painted that buckle on the back there, and this is a separate piece. It comes all the way over with the skirt there. And then if I lift the skirt up a little bit just so you can see what it looks like underneath. Oh, I lost his helmet, but you can see articulation on the legs. Every time I see these sandals, it reminds me of the Hulk from Ragnarok. But that's the Gamorrean guard, okay? And we'll turn him back right over to the front. Underneath, you can see he's got his foot pegs as well as the year that he was made. Let's get his helmet back on his head. So that's the Gamorrean guard, the Vintage Collection 2010 release. And then, of course, the re-release in 2019 to coincide with Jabba's Palace playset and the katana that we have of Jabba's and place them in there. And if you were lucky, you picked one up. If you were luckier, you got even more than one. And I did get a couple. You can see one in my Rancor over here, holding the opposite weapon, holding the spear. So let's put his axe back in hand. Let's stand him back over here. So those are all the versions that we got of the Gamorrean guard. You can see the transformation that he's made over the years. From 1983 all the way to the one that we got today. And, you know, it wouldn't be the proper review if we didn't have the Black Series version. And thankfully, Hasbro made the Black Series version. They made an ultimate version of this Gamorrean guard. So let's have a look at the Black Series version. That's this guy over here. Now, he came out in 2018. He was an exclusive, which sucked. I'm up here in Canada, but in the States, he came out at Target. He was a Target exclusive, very difficult to acquire. And then up here in Canada, he got released at EB Games, and I was lucky enough to walk into one day and ask, do you have one? And they're like, yeah, we just got it, and I picked him up. So he was a deluxe figure, but you can see the sculpting, the detail on this character is phenomenal. You can see why he was so popular. Now, again, I have him holding his axe. He did come with 3 accessories, just like the ones I was showing you in there. But he's got the more of the open blade part, not the axe that we were looking at with the 3 3/4 inch one. Detailed, of course. Let's have a look at the articulation on this guy here. Let's bring him up and close so you can see his head. You can see his bright blue eyes. And you can see his nose looks wet from here, from snouting, okay? You can see the articulation on this guy here. He's got a ball at the shoulder. The shoulder piece is separate from the arm, so it's sitting on top of the body piece there, so you have a little more movement on the arm, up and down, and you can see it continues right there. Okay, he's got it at the elbow as well there. And then, of course, at the wrist. And then at the wrist there, you know, you have the bracer, so it impedes it a little bit from going anywhere, but if you look in closely, you can see that it does have a little bit of articulation there where you can bend the wrist slightly as well to get more detail. Cloth goods skirt, not as exaggerated as a 3 3/4 inch one, but I mean, I can't expect the 3 3/4 inch one to get the same treatment as this guy, but I love this material. This reminds me of the Grizzlor figure from back in 1983-84, the Hordak minion. It kind of reminds me of his fur. It feels nice and soft. It's like a blanket sitting over him there. If we lift that up, you can see he's got his belly underneath there. That's the material, but it's covering it nicely and it's not hanging up too high. Just enough where it looks like a realistic movie version. Of course, down here at the legs, you'll notice that his legs are on the ball as well. They can't really move too far out. It's stopped by his sculpting there. And then, of course, at the knee, okay? And then, of course, at the ankle as well. And he's got rocker ankles, so you can position him any which way you want. I would have liked if the boots were black, but they put them with gray, which I'm still okay with. But you can see the rocker ankle really does wonders for this figure, back and forth. So underneath, you'll notice that there's the foot pegs. Okay, and then if we stand him up straight so you can see him, that's what he looks like. Okay, if we turn him to the side, that's what he looks like from the side. And then, of course, from the back. And you can see from the back the full detail on the back of his outfit here, with his buckle coming across, with his cloth coming down there, covering him up. And that's the Gamorrean guard in a nutshell. The headpiece over here, although it feels like it's removable, it doesn't come off, it's stuck on. Okay, but it is a separate piece and it sits over the head nicely and gives it a nice look. I mean, I don't know when you take it off. I guess if you wanted to build your own Mandalorian / Book of Boba Fett version, you'd want to take it off. But I find sometimes it's a nuisance with the vintage collection when it falls off and you got to find it. And if you lose it, he looks completely different. So that's the Gamorrean guard. That's the love that we're going to give him from the Black Series version as well. Those are all the iterations we got of him to date. I'm just going to point out that I do have one sitting with my Black Series Rancor. Yeah, that's not the HasLab Rancor. We never got that one, but if you watch the most recent Book of Boba Fett, you'll know what I'm talking about when I say Rancor. Let's just bring that one up close as well so we can see him. So you can see he's holding him in his arm there, and the Gamorrean guard's, fighting for his life, holding his spear in his hand. So that's all we got Gamorrean guard wise. Hope you guys liked the review. I enjoy making them. Look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care.